He was not always a beggar. There was a time when his life felt normal, even hopeful. He once had a small rented room, a steady job at a local warehouse, and a wife whose laughter filled the space they called home. They were not rich, but they were content. Every night, he would come home tired, and she would greet him with a smile and warm food. They talked about the future often, about saving money, about moving to a better place, about the child they were expecting. That child became the center of their world long before it was born. When the baby arrived, everything changed at once. Happiness and fear came together in the same moment. He still remembered the hospital room, the dim lights, and the way his wife held his hand tightly. She looked weak, but her eyes were full of love when she saw the baby for the first time. He had never felt such a deep sense of responsibility before. In that moment, he promised himself that he would protect his family no matter what. But life did not give him time to prepare. Complications followed soon after the birth. His wife's health declined quickly, and despite the doctor's efforts, she did not recover. One day, he walked out of the hospital carrying his newborn child, knowing his life would never be the same. Grief hit him hard, but he had no time to fall apart. A tiny life depended on him now. At first, he tried to keep everything together. He returned to work sooner than he should have, leaving the baby with a neighbor during the day. He slept very little and worked long hours. Every bit of money he earned went toward rent, food, and baby supplies. Nights were the hardest. The baby cried often, and he struggled to understand what the child needed. He had never imagined raising a child alone, and every mistake felt heavy. Then came the layoffs. The warehouse reduced staff, and his name was on the list. Just like that, his only steady income was gone. He searched everywhere for work, carrying his baby with him because he had no one else to help. Some people felt sorry for him, others avoided him. Days passed without success, and the small savings he had disappeared quickly. Rent became overdue. The landlord was patient at first, but patience has limits. One evening, he was asked to leave. He packed what little he owned into a bag, wrapped his baby in a thin blanket, and stepped into the night with nowhere to go. That was the first time he truly felt afraid. Not for himself, but for his child. Life on the streets was cruel and unforgiving. He found temporary shelter wherever he could, sometimes near closed shops, sometimes under old rooftops. He learned to stay alert, even while exhausted. The baby's needs never stopped. Hunger cries echoed through the nights, cutting through his heart. He shared whatever food he found, often eating less so the baby could have more. Milk became the biggest problem. It was expensive, and donations were rare. Some days, he managed to get enough. Other days, he didn't. Watching his child grow weaker made him feel like he was failing as a father. He blamed himself constantly, replaying every decision that led him there. Still, he did not give up. Each morning, he cleaned himself as best as he could, adjusted the baby's blanket, and walked through the streets, asking for work or help. Pride had long been pushed aside. Survival was all that mattered now. Some people ignored him. Some said harsh words. A few showed kindness. But kindness alone could not solve everything. That was when he noticed her. She was not someone who stood out loudly, but there was something calm about her presence. She ran a small food stall on a quiet street, serving simple meals to locals. She greeted people politely, never rushing, always listening. He had passed by her stall many times before, but he had never stopped. He was embarrassed, unsure, and tired of being judged. She, too, had her own story, though most people didn't know it. Years earlier, she had dreamed of a family of her own. Life, however, had taken a different path. Circumstances and disappointments had slowly taken those dreams away. She learned to live quietly, focusing on her work and helping others when she could. Her stall was more than a business. It was her way of staying connected to people. On that particular day, the baby was crying more than usual. The sound was weak, almost hoarse, and it worried him deeply. He checked the bottle he carried. It was nearly empty. Panic set in. He walked faster, hoping to find someone willing to help. When he reached her stall, he stopped. His heart raced. His clothes were worn, his face tired, and his hands shook slightly. He stood there for a moment, unsure what to say. People passed by, ordering food, laughing, living normal lives. He felt invisible and exposed at the same time. Finally, with his voice barely steady, he spoke. He did not ask for money. He did not ask for much. He only asked if she had a little milk for his child. She looked at him, then at the baby. What she saw was not a beggar, but a father at the end of his strength. The baby's small face and weak cries touched something deep inside her. She had seen hardship before, but this was different. This was raw and real. Before responding, she observed him closely. There was no dishonesty in his eyes, only fear and exhaustion. He held the baby carefully, like something precious, despite his own broken state. In that moment, something changed inside her. Memories, emotions, and long-buried feelings rose to the surface. She did not answer immediately, but her silence was not cold. It was thoughtful. Around them, the noise of the street continued. Unaware that a simple request was about to change multiple lives, the father waited, holding his breath, unsure whether he would be turned away once again. This moment, filled with desperation, hope, and quiet courage, marked the beginning of something neither of them could have imagined. She reached for the milk, without making him repeat his request. Her movements were calm and gentle, as if she already understood how fragile the moment was. She poured it carefully into a clean bottle, warmed it slightly, and handed it to him. Her eyes stayed on the baby, not on the man's worn clothes or tired face. He thanked her quietly, his voice heavy with emotion. His hands trembled as he fed the child, watching closely as the baby slowly began to settle. The crying softened, then stopped. For the first time that day, the child looked at peace. People around them noticed the silence that followed. Some paused to watch. Others pretended not to see. She ignored the attention and offered him a seat near the stall. He hesitated at first, unsure if he was welcome to stay, but she nodded kindly, and he sat down, still holding the baby close. Relief washed over him, mixed with embarrassment. He was not used to being treated with such respect anymore. As the baby drank, she asked simple questions. She did not pry or judge. She asked the baby's age, the child's name, and whether he had eaten anything else that day. Her voice was soft, steady, and patient. He answered honestly, even when the truth was painful to say. Each word felt like a confession, but she listened without interrupting. The baby finished the milk and fell asleep in his arms. He looked down, amazed at how quickly calm had replaced distress. It felt like a small miracle. He wiped his eyes quickly, hoping she had not noticed, but she had. She understood that tears did not always mean weakness. Sometimes, they were a sign of how much someone had been holding inside. She offered him a simple meal next. At first, he refused. Pride still lived somewhere deep within him, even though life had stripped so much away. But she insisted, placing the food in front of him without pressure. Hunger won over pride. As he ate slowly, he realized how long it had been since he had a proper meal. Each bite gave him a little more strength. They sat there for a while, not speaking much. The street noise faded into the background. For a brief moment, life felt almost normal again. He felt safe sitting there, watched over in a quiet way. He hadn't felt that in a long time. As the afternoon went on, she learned more about his situation. He told her about losing his job, his home, and his wife. He spoke carefully, choosing his words, afraid of overwhelming her, but she did not turn away. Her expression showed sadness, but also understanding. She had known loss herself, though in a different form. She shared a little of her own story too. She spoke of long years of hard work, of dreams that didn't turn out the way she hoped. and of learning to live with acceptance. She did not speak with bitterness, only honesty. He listened, surprised that someone who seemed so steady had also faced deep disappointment. As evening approached, the temperature dropped. She noticed the baby's thin blanket and frowned slightly. Without saying much, she went inside and returned with a warmer covering. She wrapped the child carefully, making sure the baby was comfortable. He watched her, unsure how to react. No one had shown his child such care in a long time. Word spread quickly among nearby vendors and regular customers. Some whispered, some stared. A few shook their heads. She was aware of the attention, but chose to ignore it. Helping someone in need had never required permission in her eyes. Still, she knew judgment would follow. Later that evening, she asked him where he planned to go for the night. He hesitated before answering. He did not want to burden her further. When he finally admitted he had no safe place to stay, her face grew serious. She thought quietly for a moment, weighing responsibility against compassion. She offered him a small space behind her stall where he could rest for the night. It was not much, but it was sheltered and safe. He was shocked. He tried to refuse, insisting he didn't want to cause trouble. But she reminded him that the baby needed warmth and rest more than anything. That truth ended the argument. That night, as he lay awake holding his child, he felt something unfamiliar hope. It was fragile, but it was there. The baby slept peacefully, breathing softly. He stared at the ceiling, wondering how a single act of kindness could change so much in just one day. She closed her stall later than usual. As she cleaned up, her thoughts kept returning to the baby's face. Something inside her had shifted. It was not planned, and it was not logical, but it felt right. For years, she had told herself that certain dreams were no longer meant for her. That night, she questioned that belief for the first time. The following days followed a similar pattern. He returned to her stall each morning, not to beg, but to help. He cleaned, carried supplies, and did whatever small tasks she needed. In return, she made sure he and the baby had food and warmth. Slowly, trust began to grow between them. Still, challenges remained. He worried about becoming too dependent. She worried about how long she could help without causing problems for herself. Both were aware that kindness alone could not fix everything. Yet neither was ready to walk away. Neighbors continued to talk. Some accused him of taking advantage. Others warned her that helping too much could bring trouble. She listened, but did not let fear guide her actions. She believed that helping one person did not mean harming herself. One afternoon, the baby fell ill with a mild fever. Panic returned to him instantly. He feared losing the only thing he had left. She reacted quickly, guiding him on what to do and helping him find basic care. The baby recovered, but the scare left a deep mark on both of them. That moment made one thing clear: they were already connected in ways they could not ignore. What started as a simple request for milk had grown into something far more meaningful, and though neither of them knew what the future held, they both understood that their lives were no longer separate. Days passed, and what had once felt temporary slowly began to feel real. The man no longer arrived at the stall, with fear in his eyes alone. There was still worry, but there was also purpose. Each morning, he came early, before customers arrived, to help prepare for the day. He washed utensils, arranged supplies, and cleaned the small space with care. He worked quietly, grateful for the chance to contribute instead of only receiving. The baby grew calmer too. With regular meals and warmth, the child's strength slowly returned. The cries were less frequent, replaced by soft sounds and curious eyes that followed movement around the stall. Customers noticed the change. Some smiled at the baby, others asked questions. A few even left extra food or small items without saying much. Still, not everyone approved. Some people whispered that this situation was strange. They wondered why she was helping so much. A few warned her that kindness could be misunderstood. She heard their words, but she did not let them settle in her heart. She believed that doing the right thing did not need approval. One afternoon, something unexpected happened. A local official stopped by the area, checking stalls and speaking to vendors. When he saw the man and the baby behind her stall, his expression changed. He asked questions in a firm tone. The man felt his chest tighten. Fear rushed back instantly. He worried they would be forced to leave, or worse. She stepped forward calmly and explained the situation without hesitation. She spoke clearly, not defensively. She explained that the man was helping her and that the baby needed care. The official listened, then reminded her of regulations and responsibilities. His words were not cruel, but they carried weight. After he left, silence hung in the air. The man felt ashamed again, as if his presence had put her at risk. He apologized repeatedly, saying he would leave if needed. He did not want to cause her trouble. He had already lost too much and could not bear to be the reason someone else suffered. She listened carefully, then surprised him. She told him that this was no longer just about helping for a day or two. She admitted that she had grown attached to the baby and to the idea that they were not facing life alone anymore. Saying the words out loud made her realize how true they were. That conversation changed everything. For the first time, they talked seriously about the future. Not dreams, but real plans. They spoke about work, stability, and what the baby needed to grow safely. It was not an easy conversation. Reality stood between them like a wall. But instead of turning away, they stood together. She suggested helping him find proper work nearby. She knew people in the area and believed someone might give him a chance. He agreed, though doubt still lived in his mind. He had been rejected so many times before. Still, he was willing to try again. Over the next few days, she spoke to shop owners and stall managers. Some refused immediately. Others hesitated. Finally, one small shop owner agreed to let him work part-time. The pay was low, but it was honest work. When he received his first payment, his hands shook again, but this time with relief. That night, he bought basic supplies for the baby himself. It was not much, but it mattered deeply to him. He felt dignity returning. Piece by piece, when he showed her what he had bought, she smiled quietly. She did not praise him loudly. She knew that respect mattered more than words. As the man worked during the day, the baby stayed with her at the stall. She cared for the child naturally, without effort or force. She talked softly, kept the baby clean, and made sure the child was comfortable. Customers noticed how gentle she was. Some joked that she looked like she had been doing this her whole life. At first, she laughed it off. But inside, something warm spread through her. For years, she had pushed away the idea of motherhood, telling herself it was no longer meant to be. Now, without planning it, she was living it in small moments, feeding, calming, protecting. The turning point came one evening when the man did not return on time. The sun had set, and worry grew inside her. The baby became restless, sensing the change. She tried to stay calm, but her thoughts raced. She feared something had gone wrong. When he finally arrived, exhausted and injured from a minor accident at work, fear rushed out of her as relief turned into emotion. She helped him sit, cleaned his wound, and scolded him gently for not being careful. Her reaction surprised both of them. In that moment, he realized something clearly. This was no longer just kindness. This was care. Deep, honest care that went beyond obligation. And she realized it too. As she tended to him, she understood that her heart had already chosen. Later that night, after the baby was asleep, they talked again. This time, the conversation was quieter, more personal. He confessed his fear of failing again. He admitted that he did not know how to repay what she had done. She stopped him gently and told him that not everything needed repayment. She spoke about choice. She told him that she was choosing to be there, just as he was choosing to stand back up, instead of giving in. They were not saving each other, she said. They were walking together. That night marked a clear shift. From that point on, they were no longer strangers connected by chance. They had become a small unit, bound by shared responsibility and growing trust. Challenges still waited ahead, but something strong had been formed. A bond not written on paper, but felt deeply. A bond that neither of them was willing to break, and at the center of it all was the child sleeping peacefully, unaware that his presence had brought two broken lives together and given them both a new direction. Life did not suddenly become easy after that turning point. In many ways, it became more complicated. With deeper connection came deeper responsibility. The man worked longer hours at the small shop, often returning tired and sore. Some days he felt hopeful, other days he felt overwhelmed. He was grateful for the chance to earn, but the pay barely covered daily needs. Still, he kept going, because now he had more than survival to think about. She also felt the weight of change. Caring for the baby while running the stall required constant attention. There were moments when customers complained about waiting, and moments when she had to choose between serving food and calming a crying child. It tested her patience, but she never complained. Inside, however, she wondered how long she could manage both without losing herself. The community continued to watch closely. Some people softened their opinions when they saw the man working honestly and trying to improve his situation. Others remained suspicious. A few believed she was risking too much by taking responsibility for someone else's child. Their words sometimes reached her ears, especially on difficult days, and doubt tried to settle in her mind. One evening, a customer spoke harshly, accusing her of being careless and warning her that helping the wrong person could bring trouble. The words hurt more than she expected. After closing the stall, she sat quietly, thinking. The baby slept nearby, unaware of the tension. The man noticed her silence and asked if something was wrong. She did not answer right away. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm but honest. She admitted that fear had started to creep in. She worried about finances, reputation, and the future. She worried about the baby most of all. If something went wrong, she did not know how she would forgive herself. He listened closely, feeling the weight of her words. Guilt returned, stronger than before. He felt like a burden again, like someone who brought trouble wherever he went. That night, he barely slept. By morning, he had made a decision. He told her that he planned to leave. He said it quietly, carefully, as if afraid the words themselves might break something. He believed that stepping away would protect her and the baby from further difficulty. He thanked her for everything she had done and said he would find another way. The news shook her deeply. She did not react with anger. Instead, she felt a sudden emptiness, as if something important was being taken away. She looked at the baby, then back at him, and finally spoke with firmness she did not know she had. She told him that running away was not the same as protecting. She reminded him how far he had come and how much effort he had put into standing back up. She said that challenges were not signs to leave, but signs to face things together. Her words were steady, filled with emotion but not fear. That conversation changed his thinking. For the first time, he realized that staying and working through hardship was also an act of courage. He agreed to stay, though fear still remained. They both understood that their path would not be smooth. Soon after, the baby fell ill again, this time more seriously. The fever lasted longer, and the baby refused food. Panic returned, stronger than ever. The man blamed himself, worrying that his unstable life had harmed his child. She acted quickly, using what little savings she had to get proper care. Those days were heavy with worry. She barely left the baby's side, sleeping in short moments. The man watched helplessly, feeling useless despite his efforts. When the baby finally began to recover, relief washed over them both, leaving exhaustion in its wake. The cost of care left her financially strained. Supplies ran low, and the stall earned less during that time. Stress filled the air again. Small misunderstandings began to happen. Words were sometimes sharper than intended. Silence replaced conversation on some nights. Despite this, neither walked away. They learned to apologize, to listen, and to forgive. Slowly, they began to understand each other's fears more deeply. He learned that her strength came from years of disappointment. She learned that his quiet nature hid constant worry. One night, she admitted something she had never said aloud. She told him that caring for the baby had awakened a part of her she thought was gone forever. It scared her. Because loving meant risking loss. He listened, understanding that love had already changed both of them. He responded with honesty of his own. He told her that he saw her not just as help, but as family. The word felt heavy, but true. Saying it out loud made his voice shake. She did not answer immediately, but she did not pull away either. Days turned into weeks. Routine slowly formed again. The baby grew stronger, smiling more often. Laughter returned in small moments. The stall regained its rhythm. Customers became used to seeing the baby there, and some even showed kindness openly now. Still, the future remained uncertain. Money was tight, and life had no guarantees. But something had changed inside them. They were no longer facing fear alone. The struggles they endured did not break them. Instead, they shaped them into something stronger. Through illness, doubt, and pressure, they learned that real family is built through patience, care, and shared hardship. And though the road ahead was still long, they now walked it side by side, carrying both fear and hope together. Got it. I've completed part 4 inches simple English, about 1,300 words. With no headings, an engaging flow, and safe, clean content. Whenever you're ready, just say part 5, and I'll expand the final part with a strong, emotional, and satisfying ending that completes the story beautifully. Time moved forward quietly, without any clear sign that things were getting easier. Yet something steady had taken root in their lives. The days were still full of effort, but they were no longer filled with fear alone. Each morning began with purpose. The man woke early for work, careful not to disturb the baby. Before leaving, he always checked to make sure the child was warm and comfortable. That small routine gave him strength. Even on the hardest days, she continued running the stall, now more confident in balancing her work and caring for the child. What once felt overwhelming had slowly become familiar. She learned the baby's patterns, the soft sounds that meant hunger, and the quiet movements that meant sleep. There was comfort in this understanding. It made her feel needed in a way she had never experienced before. The man's efforts at work did not go unnoticed. The shop owner saw his honesty and dedication. He was never late, never careless. Slowly, his hours increased. With more work came slightly better pay. It was not much, but it was progress. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he was building something instead of just surviving. One evening, he returned with news that surprised her. The shop owner had offered him a more stable position if things continued well. His voice shook as he shared it, afraid to hope too much. She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. It was a small step, but it meant security. It meant fewer nights of worry. As stability grew, so did trust. They spoke more openly about their pasts, their mistakes, and their fears. There were no secrets left to hide. He talked about the guilt he still carried from losing his wife and the fear of failing as a father. She spoke about the loneliness she had lived with for years, and how she had learned to accept disappointment quietly. One night, as the baby slept peacefully between them, she admitted something important. She said that she no longer felt alone. The words were simple, but they carried deep meaning. He felt the same. For the first time since everything had fallen apart, he felt like he belonged somewhere. The community around them began to change too. People who once judged now greeted them kindly. Some apologized quietly through their actions. Customers brought small gifts for the baby, not out of pity, but care. The stall felt warmer, more alive. What had once been a place of business became a place of connection. There were still difficult days. Unexpected expenses appeared. Some nights were restless, but they faced each problem together. They planned carefully, saved slowly, and supported one another. Each challenge they overcame made them stronger. The baby continued to grow, healthy and curious. Laughter filled the space more often now. The child's joy became a reminder of how far they had come. Watching the baby take small steps and explore the world brought tears to their eyes more than once. One quiet afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the stall, the man spoke from his heart. He told her that she had not only saved his child, but had also helped him find himself again. He said that no words could fully express his gratitude. She listened silently, her eyes filled with emotion. She responded gently, telling him that helping them had given her life new meaning. She said that becoming part of the child's life had healed a part of her she thought was broken forever. It was not a sacrifice, she said. It was a gift. That conversation marked a new beginning. They did not rush into promises or labels. They understood that what they shared was built slowly, through patience and care. It did not need to be named to be real. Eventually, with steady income and careful planning, they found a small place to live together. It was simple, but it was safe. The first night there felt unreal. Walls, a door that locked, and a quiet space to rest. The baby slept soundly, unaware of how meaningful that moment was. Standing in that room, the man felt something close to peace. The woman looked around and smiled, imagining a future that no longer felt impossible. It was not the life either of them had once planned, but it was a life built on truth and kindness. Over time, their bond deepened naturally. They became a family not through formal words, but through daily actions, shared meals, late-night worries, and quiet laughter. Love grew in the spaces between hardship, strong and steady. Years later, when people asked how it all began, they spoke of that one moment. A tired father asking for milk. A woman choosing kindness. A simple act that changed everything. What started as desperation became hope. What began as help became family. And through compassion, patience, and courage, they found a future neither of them had dared to imagine. Their story stood as a quiet reminder that sometimes, the smallest act of care can change the course of many lives, and that family is not always found by chance, but built through love.